Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the RAOS election live stream. We've got two candidates with us tonight. I'll introduce them a little later. But before the candidates come on and start telling you a little bit about themselves and their approach to the election, I just want to talk a little bit about RAOS. We've got a current board. The current board consists of 7 directors. We've also got one appointed director whose term just ended in August. Just in recent days, his term ended. I'd just like to take the opportunity to say to Paul Tyrrell, who's that departing board member, thanks for your service, Paul. We really appreciate the time and effort that you've put in, and we've certainly valued your contribution to the board. This leaves us with 2 empty spaces for the board this year. We, as everyone is aware, we're now going to an election. Due to COVID, there's limited opportunities for the nominees to get around to the membership and introduce themselves and make themselves known. So we're repeating what we did last year and running these live streams. During the live stream, people will have an opportunity to send in questions either via YouTube or Facebook. And we will try to address those questions as much as possible. We're going to allow ourselves a little bit, to be a little bit flexible, but we'll try and shoot for about the 1 to 1.25 hour mark. We don't want people either viewing this or participating in the feed, the nominees, to get fatigued. So we'll try and keep it to about an hour. This year, we've modernised that will contain instructions on how to vote, a link, etc. If you do have any troubles with that, there'll be some contact details in that email as well, and we'll endeavour to help you out. We've got a small number, less than 1% of our membership don't actually have an email address registered with us. We will be reaching out to those via traditional methods to make sure that they also have an opportunity to lodge a vote as well. In accordance with our constitution, only financial members will have the opportunity to vote. So make sure, if you haven't received your email, let's make sure that your membership is up to date and fully paid. If you have any troubles with that, please contact our office. Our office at the moment is not physically staffed, so you will have to leave a message, but they are pretty good at turning around phone calls. I would just ask for a little bit of patience in either getting emails or phone calls back from the office. Everyone is quite geographically spread at the moment, and as I said before, we're not working from the office, but we are working very, very hard. And I'd like to express thanks to the staff for stepping up during what is a difficult period for about 8 million Australians, I think, that are working from home or under some form of lockdown at the moment. A bit more about RAOS and the board itself. As we go into the election process, I'd like everyone to have a little bit of a think about what the board is, what its function is, and the type of people that we need on the board. The Corporations Act, which governs our operation as a company, it states the business of a company is to be managed by or under the direction of the directors. At RAOS, we take the latter option, and we've got a highly capable team of around about 15 or people, give or take, that actually run the day-to-day operations of the business. As a board, what we do is we provide governance. So we set policy, we set the direction, the strategy, etc., for the company, and then we hand it over to Matt Boutel, our CEO, and his team to actually execute and deliver on the direction that the board has set. With that in mind, it's very important to have a think about the skills that we need on a board. What we don't need is highly skilled pilots. We need people, obviously, with an understanding of the industry, having a deep understanding of what it is RAOS does, our structure, etc. is obviously, it's very, very important. But what we really need is the skills in things like finance, accounting, marketing, legal, etc., just to navigate the challenges that we as an organisation face. As I say, obviously the flying and the industry skills are very important, but please don't dismiss the importance of those other skills. And if I reflect back on the last 12 or 18 months as we've gone through an incredibly challenging environment with COVID-19, ravaging the world, we face some pretty challenging decisions and and scenarios as an organisation, and they have largely been addressed not through our flying skills, but through good governance, good management skills, and whatnot. We need to be really across those obligations that we face as a business as much as we understand the industry. Those business obligations, they cover things like work health and safety and so on and so forth. And without that background, it's going to be very difficult for us to manage what is possibly one of the most challenging environments we face going forward. I'd also like to say a little bit about the aviation environment. We're coming up to a significant period of change. We've been through some pretty robust changes in the past 5 or 10 years. On 2 December, we've got a suite of new regulations going live. And in that sense, we also need directors that have a solid understanding of what those regulations mean, how RAOs interacts with those regulations, and how we can either mitigate the risks associated with them or leverage some of the new possibilities that those regulations bring in. So I'd really strongly encourage everyone to take a good read of the candidates' profiles, bear in mind what we as an organisation need, and vote accordingly. Please don't just do a donkey vote. This is your organisation. This is your opportunity to express your desire and your wishes on how to vote. How the organisation is run. It's really critical that you exercise your vote carefully. For tonight, we've got 2 candidates online. There's actually 3 candidates that are running for the election. Tonight, we'll be speaking with Luke Bailey and Simon Ozar. We've got a third nominee, Rod Birrell. Rod Birrell didn't respond to the RSVP in time to be included in tonight's live stream. So we've planned this around having 2 people on board. We're going to be joined by Peter John, or PJ as we like to call him. He's going to be running the proceedings for tonight. Peter's just jumped on. G'day, Peter. And he'll be laying out the format and introducing the candidates shortly. On that note, I'd just like to say thank you for everyone watching. We've got several people dialed in online. Feel free to jump into the various platforms that we're broadcasting on. Express your questions. Please be polite and be considerate of the candidates. We'll try and get through as much as we can. But like I said before, we'll try and keep it to around about an hour or thereabouts, but remain flexible. So on that note, I'm going to hand it over to Peter. And I'd just like to say thanks to Peter. Also recognise we've got a great team of people in the office. We've got Marette and Lisa who are coordinating tonight's live stream. Matt's involved as well. Matt is our CEO. A lot of people haven't had the opportunity to meet him yet, but Matt's doing an outstanding job. He's also a returning officer and responsible for deciding or actually administering the elections. And a great big team of people who are really stepping up to the plate and serving the needs of members. So thank you to all involved. Thanks to the team. Thanks to the team, sorry. Thanks to PJ for stepping up tonight, and thanks to the candidates. On that note, I'll hand over to PJ and I wish everyone well. So thanks, PJ.
Okay, thanks a lot, Mick. And I'd like to thank RAOs for bringing me back again this year to moderate what is the second live stream of candidates for a board election. As Mick pointed out, we have Luke Bailey and Simon Ozar joining us tonight. They are 2 of the candidates that are standing for the vacancies on the board. The format for tonight's presentations by the candidates will be pretty relaxed, open. I'll start off shortly by giving each candidate 5 minutes to introduce themselves and share with the members their background, their interests. But the time, because it is limited to an hour, is somewhat critical. So there are some rules of engagement, so to speak, in terms of ensuring everybody gets fair and equitable opportunity. So you might see me from time to time give a candidate a wink or a nod, and that means or say something, and that means you've got about 30 seconds to wrap it up, and then we'll move on to either the next question or the next candidate. Spontaneity is the key, and if something topical comes out of a response, we might just quickly switch to that and tidy that topic up before we move on. So without any further ado, I might kick off with Luke to step forward and introduce himself to the members, and we'll get the show running. So handing over to you, Luke.
Thank you very much, PJ. And look, thank you guys for tuning into this one. It's always really good to see that people have a vested interest in the really good corporate governance of RAOZ. It's an organisation that I think we all really value, and the direction is certainly governed and set by the board. So having a really strong board is a really essential part of maintaining this organisation for the future. As a background for myself, I've been with the board for the last 5 years or so now, and it's been fantastic. I've really learned a lot, really enjoyed working with the staff. They made it an absolute pleasure to work with. As a background, I'm a mechanical engineer with a significant history in reliability, and currently am the maintenance manager for SA Water in South Australia. So largely a background in what was mining previously, and now maintenance, but always with a bit of a reliability function. I also have a master's in business administration, and part of my subjects through there was corporate governance, and hence why it led me to quite a keen interest in the higher level management of organisations such as RAOZ, and that's why I joined the board about 5 years ago. In terms of flying, I'm a pilot. I used to own an aircraft, don't anymore, but I still fly quite regularly. I've never been a CFI, but through my dealings with RAOZ, and especially with in many conversations with the people in the field, and our members at member forums, I've learned significantly a lot more about the industry than I ever thought I did just being a pilot. I really enjoy this side of things, and especially around the governance side of it. It can get very challenging at times, but it's also a really interesting field to be in. In terms of the coming year, look, I have been. This would be my third term if elected. And we're a 3 terms, and then it's a mandatory turnover. I've still got a fair bit of interest in. I've still got a lot of interest in continuing to provide services to RAOZ. And certainly welcome the challenge. I'm ready, willing, and able. And while I don't know Simon, we haven't met before tonight, I could say that I do endorse, though, have some consideration for somebody new coming into the board. The fresh ideas that they do bring in, is certainly very valuable, and challenging the older status quo views that might be present. Is certainly a real value. I have to say that as a current director, it is the best for the board for, bringing in that new sort of opinion and perspective. So, that's probably about all I've got for tonight, Peter.
Okay, thanks for that, Luke. Simon, handing over, and if you'd like to share your background and experience with the members, thanks.
Sure. Thanks, PJ, and thanks to Mick for his opening comments, to you, PJ, for moderating, and all the team behind the scenes. Also, thanks to Luke for his opening comments there. I'd like to extend a good evening to those that are listening on the various feeds, and for those who might choose to watch this at a later stage. Many of the people out there probably won't know me, and probably won't know either of the candidates. So this really is a great opportunity for us to be able to present ourselves to the membership, and to demonstrate why it is that we should be representing you as part of the board. I think Mick and Luke and even PJ have mentioned the importance of the role of the directors in taking this organisation forward. So it is pretty critical, and I again would echo some of the earlier comments and encourage everyone to vote where they can. A little bit about myself. I've been in aviation for about 25 years now. I had a career in the Air Force before moving on to charter and commercial operations. I've been a member of RAOZ for almost 10 years. In recent years, I've purchased my own aircraft, an Arion Lightning, and I'm really enjoying the opportunity outside of the commercial space just to get out and fly, not as an occupation, but literally as a hobby. And I guess that is what really drives me to want to be a member of the board, is to grow the sport and the organisation, which we're all members of and which we all love. I hold a variety of different licenses. I've got not only an RA license, RAL's license, but also have an air transport license. I also have a remote pilot license. I mentioned my own aircraft. I also run my own aviation consulting business. Through that, I work predominantly in safety, regulatory affairs, and a lot in the unmanned systems space. Through a variety of different roles in my own company, and prior to starting that company, I held roles in various executive teams and on other boards. I'm a Canberra resident, and I've got a family of 4 teenage children, which keeps us pretty busy. I don't get a lot of time to devote to aviation, certainly not as much as I'd like, but that's changing as they all start to leave home, and I now find I do have that opportunity to move into roles like the RAL's board, hopefully, and to be able to contribute and give back to aviation. What else about me? Why am I nominating? I guess I really want to be an advocate for members, but I also want to promote the sport and recreational aviation. I want to continue to develop our organisation, and as I just said, I really want to be able to give back to the aviation community in a meaningful way. What am I hoping to achieve? I think Mick highlighted the role of the board. Obviously, strategic direction is pretty important. The organisation has been moving in a pretty good direction for quite a while now, and I want to continue that movement. But in a nutshell, I guess what I'd like to see, obviously, look to reduce costs wherever possible, increase privileges, and I'm sure there'll be plenty of discussions tonight about some of those increased privileges as part of the regulatory change that's due to come in December. I'd like to see improved support to, in particular, our training and maintenance side of the organisation. Look at something like an infrastructure support package potentially for the membership, or at least for the organisation. You've got the background to me. I guess what would I bring to the board? For me, it's a combination of experience, a different perspective. I haven't been on the board previously, so I will bring that different perspective. Or certainly hope to. Definitely enthusiasm. I'm passionate about aviation. I really do love aviation, and I have a lot of experience in a variety of different aspects of aviation. So it's that enthusiasm and experience that really I think will be an asset to the board. So overall, I guess I welcome the opportunity to represent the membership. And if anyone does have further questions outside of tonight's discussions, please feel free to contact me directly. Member statement has my email and phone number, and you can find me on social media. I'm more than happy to have a chat offline to respond to questions that anyone may have. Once again, thanks for the team. Thanks, PJ, and that's me.
Okay, thanks a lot for that, Simon. But we'll stay with you for the moment, and we'll use your introduction and come back to Luke from his introduction and explore a little more the best traits or skill sets that you believe that you'll bring to the RAL's board of directors.
Look, I think I touched on them in my introduction. As I said, for me, experience is one aspect. I don't just have the aviation experience, as Mick alluded to in his opening remarks. I have a broad range of experience outside of aviation, in executive teams, as a board member on other boards. I have had to deal with all of the aspects that a board will face. I do run my own company, so I've had to manage people, I've had to manage finance, and all of those aspects of business ownership. So, look, I do have that experience. But as I also said, enthusiasm and a different perspective. That's the other, I guess, difference that I might bring. I don't necessarily have the background that, for example, the other two candidates who have been on the board for some time now will. However, sometimes that can be a benefit to have that person who isn't intimately familiar with a particular event or activity to be able to step back, take a look at something and ask the hard questions. Why do we do it this way? Explain it to me. Is this best for membership? All of those sorts of questions. So really that's what I think will be the subtle difference between myself and some of the other candidates.
Okay, thanks for that. So Luke, talking of traits or single best qualities, what do you believe that you will offer the board and the members?
Yeah, so I think as Simon touched on a little bit there, I do have that depth of experience with working in the board, and one of the particular aspects is the adoption of Part 149. We've been working on that for a number of years, but in the more recent times, we've actually ended up in a bit of a scale up towards that. And now that we're starting to find our feet with it, some of those long-term considerations by the board over the years are starting to come to light, and so we're working our way through that. So I've got a fairly good understanding and knowledge and background to benefit of that. The other side of it too, and one thing that I must admit I'm really looking forward to in the coming year is we're with Matt Butel coming on as our new CEO, and currently doing a fantastic job. We're really looking forward to re-examining under the light of Part 149 how we fit in with our strategy, re-examining how the strategy fits the organisation. Does it still fit our current aspirations? Things have changed in the recent years through things like COVID, and I definitely have a fairly significant background in business strategy. So yeah, I'd be really keen to get stuck into that in the coming months.
Okay, Simon, we'll stay with you for the moment because you provided me an opportunity to explore a little more the understanding from both of you in relation to the new regulatory structure that's planned to be implemented by CASA. The critical elements that affect RAOs, of course, will take effect from December this year. So how do you see this will affect RAOs generally and the board's role in respect to those changes?
Sorry, PJ, was that for me first up?
Sorry, my apologies. Luke, I beg your pardon.
Oh, sorry. I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah, no, that's okay. I'm leveraging off your comments, Luke.
Right. Sorry, my apologies. So as I noted, Part 149 is probably the more significant one for us as for RAOs. That is the direct legislation that helps us, or at least guides us through how we administer ourselves in a self-administration organisation. And then there's a whole raft of other legislation that will come through as well that's been revised, and I think coming due in around December, or coming online in December. And if you're ready to take down a phone number, I can list them off. It's Parts 91, 41, 141. There's a whole raft of these things that we've got to try and get our heads around. 149 governs the self-administrating bodies. 61 governs the flying schools. Part 91 says what you can and can't carry in an aircraft. There's a whole lot of regulatory parts that are going to, I think they've been made, but they're coming live in December. And we're just trying to get ourselves positioned for it. So we're in a really good spot currently due to the hard work from Michael Linke and his team, and now of Matt. But yeah, it's still quite a minefield of just legislation, and it's not complex, it's just very complete. They're not hard legislations to follow. There's just so much of it to wrap your head around. So we actually do leverage our staff quite heavily in that knowledge and adaptation for how we manage ourselves through RAOs and for our schools.
So just to interrupt you there, the one I think that is perhaps the one that has everyone's focus at the moment in terms of being on the horizon is 103.
Yep.
And of course, they're the operational rules that impact our sector of the industry. So perhaps you might like to share your thoughts in relation to 103 and as you know it at the moment.
Yeah, I'm probably less familiar, to be quite honest, with 103. We've been very caught up with 149 and some of the other parts, as I mentioned. And it's easy to get confused with some of them with the FAA regulations as well. They're often similarly named and similar type, similar type information within them. 103 governing the effectively with what flying is to us, how we are able to operate our aircraft, etc. Sorry, I don't know if you can hear the background. I've got a little bit of background noise going on. It's not a complex document. It's just very complete, and so making sure that our members can continue to operate their aircraft in a similar fashion, and making sure that our operations manual is current with that new 103 legislation is probably the main focus. So.
Okay, excellent. Simon, you want to have a crack at that? Would you like me to sort of recontextualise it for you, or if you're comfortable, you've got the gist of the question?
I think I've got the gist. Thanks, PJ. Look, Luke's obviously provided the context around what each of those parts are. The fact that they're coming in December, what each of them provides, and Part 103. Look, I can understand that there's probably a lot of questions out there. A lot of people uncertain about what this really means for RAOs as an organisation. I think that's really the crux of this particular question, the latter part of that question. How will it affect us? Look, Luke touched briefly on it. Obviously, there's a bit of work there. As I understand, that work has been ongoing in the background for some time to get all of our documentation in line with those new regs. And what will it change? I think the bottom line is that there really will be very little change for the membership. Ultimately, we will continue to operate under our own documents, just as we have been currently. CASA hasn't finalised exactly what will be in those regulations yet. We're still waiting for the full outcome. They have intimated what will be in those regulations to a large extent. So I think we can have a pretty good idea of what's coming. And as I said, I don't think there's any surprises in there for the membership. I really don't think it will significantly impact anyone or the way they operate as what they're currently doing, particularly under Part 103. It does talk about the particular operations we can undertake. It talks about, I guess the fact that you still have to be listed, you still have to have your aircraft listed, you still have to be authorised to undertake the activities that you otherwise would. The operational procedures that are listed in there really don't change in terms of what we can and can't do and how we do those things. The equipment requirements aren't significantly changing at all. So I think really for me and for the membership, that the thing to realise is minimal impact to you. It will hopefully be a very smooth transition. What I don't want to see is major change, major cost increases as a result of this, and I can't see that would be the case. I really can't, based on what the new regulations are actually introducing.
If I could, Peter, and Simon's quite spot on there. And as I said before, it's the main change for our members will be anything that changes in 103 will be reflected then through our ops manual. And there are some actual real positive changes coming through with this new legislation. For example, with Part 91, the documentation requirements for being carried in aircraft will change. They're now going to update those standards to becoming digital. So, rather than having to carry around a whole flight bag full of documents, etc. So there are some really positive changes that are coming out of these new parts that we're getting.
Okay, thanks for that, guys, and that provides me the opportunity to provide a well-earned plug too for the team behind the scenes, because I have it on good authority that Jill and her team in ops and Jared and his airworthiness portfolio, and of course Cody presiding over those, have done an enormous amount of work at this stage based on what is available to get us as ready as we possibly can be, and to target those issues that might impact the organisation, and to ensure they don't as much as possible. So a bit of a plug there for the backroom people that don't get it all that often, I think. So in terms of following on from that, any large organisation has a collective or a minority that believe things don't need to change. One aviation size fits all, and that the new regulatory structure, as it is, has a uniform set of rules, and some would question whether or not there is a need for RAOs. So perhaps you could give your perspective in terms of why RAOs, why do we exist, and the importance of, in fact, having an organisation looking after our interests like RAOs does. Okay, so Simon, I might kick off with you first this time.
Sure. Look, I think there's a couple of things in that particular question. Personally, I don't subscribe to the theory that one size fits all. If we were to go down that path of one size fits all, what size would we all try and fit into? Firstly, is it a GA size? Is it an RA size? Is it a commercial size? I mean, it just doesn't work, and not just in our industry, but in many industries. We need to be flexible and adaptive to the environment, to the membership, to the varying interest groups within our membership as well. Should there be a uniform set of rules, however? Look, I think there is a uniform basis set of rules. I think that's applicable and that's appropriate. However, there will be other rules outside of those based rules, if you like, that need to be flexible. They need to, as I said, fit the particular circumstance, the particular risk, the particular aircraft type, the particular pilot experience or maintenance experience, et cetera, et cetera. So there needs to be a level of flexibility in the rule set. Is there a need for RAOs? Well, look, bottom line is that we're all members. If we didn't think there was a need for RAOs, we probably wouldn't be members. That's the bottom line, right? Why are we members? Well, we obviously share a common interest. But I think more deeply than that, we actually see the benefit in being members of this organisation. Certainly I do. Imagine trying to navigate regulations and, a whole bunch of other aspects of aviation if you didn't have an organisation which could support you through that. That would be a hell of a challenge for anyone. That's the first thing. Second thing, from my perspective, a lot of people probably do question, I guess, what is, what benefit are the membership getting from, paying their fees every year? And, there'd be perhaps people who would say that, we would be better off in the GA world or in some other aviation organisation. That may well be the case depending on your particular circumstances. But, I think the value that members get in being with RAOZ far outweighs what you might experience or get from being in other organisations. That is, to some extent, a personal belief and experience. As I said, I know there will be others out there who will challenge that, and that's completely fine. You know, I also think that having membership and a formed body, if you like, an organisation that is working together, will develop better relationships with other organisations, with the regulators, and with those improved relationships, I think we are going to gain a lot more experience. We're going to gain a lot more opportunity, and there will be a lot more ability to influence our sport.
Okay, thanks for that. Luke, you want to give that one a shot? Are you comfortable with the question? Would you like me to go over anything?
No, that's all right. I think Simon did quite a good job of answering that one himself. Look, for the small amount of people that believe aviation is a one-size-fits-all, you know, I'd say that there's 10,000 members that say otherwise. You know, they are members for a reason, and I think one of the fundamentals for RAOZ's existence is around that access to aviation. You know, what is the one size that fits all? You know, are you going to provide the same set of rules and regulations for a Jabiru flying in uncontrolled airspace out in the middle of nowhere, or, you know, is it a Learjet flying into Sydney Airport? You know, obviously one doesn't fit the other, and so there is a need to have those you know, differences within the regulation. And for us, you know, I know previous strategies was safe, affordable, fun, and educational. It's really about access and providing an affordable way for people to get involved in aviation in their community. You know, there's nothing more enjoyable than taking somebody new up that just gets that thrill of excitement that I remember having on my first couple of flights. That you know, they get excited, they want to know how to get through more of it, and you say, oh, it's really not that expensive. You go down to this school, you can go and, you know, fly for this much, etc., and they're hooked, they're involved. If we take away that, you know, the expensive prices of GA, not through any fault of GA, but you know, the cost of the aircraft and things like that, you know, the rules and regulations they must comply with. It's a really good way for us to bring people through the system, get that taste of flight, and then if they want to, and I myself have just converted over to an RPL a couple of months ago, in my pursuit and pathway through aviation, yeah, they can certainly do that as well. So we take away a really significant aspect of you know, the access to aviation in Australia if we take away RAOZ.
Okay, thanks for that, guys. Good answers, well done. So the next question is a slightly different tack, and it comes to board responsibilities, board governance, and it evolves around the membership as it currently stands of the board. So currently, more than half the board members are CFIs. And we all know that at times our life skills, our backgrounds, our educations, and our preferences can unwittingly and certainly without any malice or deliberateness introduce bias to the way we think about things. Okay. And form opinions. So what challenges do you think this represents? That this is the high incident of CFI membership on the board. What challenges do you think this represents or presents the board versus having a board with perhaps a more diverse background? And,
Who would you like
hang on, I'm just pondering a little bit more to it. That probably goes back to Mick as the chair in terms of his opening marks, in terms of the diversity of experience. Okay, so yeah, Luke.
Sure. Look, there's a real need for the board to have industry experience. You know, we need to have people who have that detailed level of knowledge of decisions that directly affect those people involved. So CFIs are an important part of the board, but like you touched on, you know, diversity of thought is really what we want to see. You know, I'm currently the youngest board member on the board, and that in itself brings a bit of diversity. And I know that every time we talk about diversity, we're talking about, you know, different ethnicity, different gender, you know, different orientations and things like that. But it's not really about that. It's about bringing a different sense of thoughts and perspectives to the board. You know, even for somebody like Simon coming in with just a fresh perspective, brings a diversity of thought and challenges the old ways around the table. That to me is the main benefit. So it is really important that we do find diversity within our board structure itself. Yeah.
Okay, Simon, handing over.
Thanks. Look, yeah, great comments from Luke there. I think you absolutely you need diversity in your board. Look, the other aspect of this, though, is that just because there's also almost an implication here that because they're a CFI, they think and act and will govern in a particular way. Now, look, I personally don't know if that's the case, not having been on the board, but you can be a CFI and have a lot of diversity still on the board. So, you know, it could potentially be a challenge for the board. I suspect not. You know, it seems to have been operating reasonably well with the membership that we've currently had in terms of the board being able to affect their particular role and responsibilities. I also suspect there's probably an underlying, you know, there's a bit of an undertone in this question, which I don't have the background to, so I'm not sure if the person that asked this question is actually seeking something more from the question that they've asked. You know, all I can say is that I think absolutely we need that diversity. Do I think we have it? I think there is a level of diversity already in the board. I believe that you can have CFIs and still have diversity. I mean, every single member could be a CFI and we could have a diverse board. Equally, we could have no CFIs and still have a diverse board and still be able to function and affect the role as a board is required to do. You know, I've seen many aviation organisations who have not had one single person on their board who has an aviation background, and they've been very successful, to give you an example. So, you know, I don't see that as a particular challenge.
Okay, that's excellent. Thank you. Just to change tack after that somewhat diplomatically focused question. This question has come in from Martin in New South Wales. And he says, good evening, candidates. RAOs offers scholarships. If elected, would you explore ways in which the RAOs board could promote these scholarships to Indigenous applicants? And he offers one possibility there, that it could be done via the Australian Indigenous Education Foundation. So can I have your thoughts, perhaps starting with you, Simon?
Look, I think firstly, the scholarships are a fantastic opportunity and offering from RAOs. I must admit I don't have a particularly good understanding of the process in which scholarships are either, you know, people nominating and or selected. Do I think there's potentially a place for, you know, specifically targeting Indigenous in this case from, you know, that Martin's raised? Yeah, look, potentially. As I said, I don't have enough of the background as to how or where particular scholarships are targeted. But certainly something that I would be willing to explore with the board, you know, and not just for the Indigenous. I mean, potentially there is, you know, other opportunity there for, you know, women, for other minorities potentially. If we are not, you know, what we're about is growth of aviation, you know, allowing access to everyone, or allowing, you know, the opportunity for everyone to access aviation. That's what we're about. And if we can bring an aviation experience into a particular area, and whether that's, you know, an Indigenous community, you know, a minority community of some description, you know, outback regional areas, whatever it might be, then potentially we should be exploring that.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Luke?
I'm probably not a big fan of making promises as to you know, what's going to happen, what would happen if I was elected onto the board. These decisions are made in a board scope and in a complete board scope rather than alone. However, it's a really good point. I think that's a fantastic question around, you know, what other opportunities we actually have you know, to get more people involved. And I think, as Simon said, you know, that's about it. It's about providing access to everyone. And you know, we don't really look at people based on their backgrounds or their genders or their, you know, we still want to understand what areas of the industry that we're not really getting that access for. But at the end of the day, people are pilots. You know, you come along, you get your pilot certificate, and you're a pilot. We don't care what background that is. And it's about growing that complete aviation sector. So look, I'd really encourage, you know, the directors, we tend to focus probably more on the higher level strategy and the business side of things. If members have got suggestions like this, and this is a ripper of a one, get in touch with our team in the office. They would bring these sort of things forward and explore some of those avenues. And I know the team do work very hard on our scholarships, and it's a really proud thing that we do as RALs to give some young members, as well as some of the older ones, you know, the access that they might, or the support to get that access when they've got the passion. But yeah, if you've got ideas like this, yeah, bring it to the office, and we'd love to explore some of them.
Yeah, Simon, and Luke, I would have to agree with both of you there. It's a great question, and it challenges the thinking on diversity right across the spectrum.
Sure. Peter, do you mind if I just jump in very quickly? I just noticed that there was a comment that came in about you know, women being a minority. Look, if that was the perception that I put across, that was not what I was trying to imply, that women are in any way a minority. What I was saying is that we should open access to people who aren't typically able to access, or don't typically look to access aviation as a hobby or as a career. And what we see, unfortunately, in aviation, for a number of reasons, is women are less represented in aviation. And so it wasn't, you know, if it came across that I was saying women are a minority, I apologise. It was not what I was intending to say. It was literally, I was saying that we should be looking to provide greater access to everyone, to provide opportunities to all people.
Yeah, thanks for that follow-up, Simon. But it certainly didn't come across to me as if that's what you were implying, or I can assure you I certainly would have called you out on it. So, but anyway, thanks for providing the extra clarity there. It is appreciated, but from my perspective, I don't think it was necessary. But thank you all the same. Okay. All right. In terms of moving forward, I'll just make a comment for our people in the background. My private chat is not perhaps working at the moment. I can't click it up, and I see that Mick has suggested a segue to another question on a similar subject. So, Moret, if you're listening, you might like to perhaps pop that up for us when you have an opportunity, and I'll take us on to another question, and we'll come back to that topic if we can. So, along a similar vein, very simple question here, but it's double barrel. So I'll let you have the first barrel, and which is probably a bit of a blank, and then I'll let you have the buckshot afterwards, so to speak. All right. So the question very simply is, and Simon, we'll let you kick off. What are the key challenges you see for RAOs?
Look, I think in the short term, well, for me personally, we'll be integrating with the board. I see that'll be a short-term challenge. I don't think it'll be an onerous one, or present any much of a problem. But it's something that I will have to get up to speed with exactly what is occurring, within the organisation itself, on the board, thinking the strategy, etc., etc. So that will be one of the first challenges. I think next cab will be off the rank will be the new regulatory change that comes into effect, and how that's managed. And longer term, I think one of the challenges potentially will be, if the organisation continues to grow, is how we effectively manage that growth and ensure that we are providing good strategic direction for an ever-increasing organisation, that we are providing for our members as we should be. really, I think that's the main challenges that we'll be looking towards.
Okay, thanks for that, Luke. Your turn.
Yeah, thank you. So I suppose, again, with a little bit of insider information into this, our probably main challenge at the moment is making sure we're navigating our way out of COVID. We still have a lot of pilots out there who are unable to access their aircraft and get back up into the sky. And so RALs is really trying to understand how we can position ourselves and for our members to get them back flying and get that encouragement back into flying activities. That's probably the very short-term challenge facing RALs. And then longer term, like I said, we're really looking forward to getting a bit more stuck into our strategy again, understanding how, and with Matt's fresh perspective, how he's going to, or how he can see us changing in the future, and how the board can actually revamp our strategy to the benefit of members. And that includes, as Simon mentioned about the integration with the regulation. It's really important that we get that very, very right. And as you said, some fantastic work going on in the background from our ops and tech team. So thank you guys for all your support in that. But yeah, those will probably be our longer term strategies, exploring how we grow the sector, exploring how we grow RALs. And a while ago, RALs took the stance that, rather than trying to carve up the pie that is the aviation industry, we take the stance that the rising tide lifts all ships. So how can we grow aviation in Australia, not just grow RALs? We're taking a much broader perspective.
Okay, thanks for that, guys. So the bird fright got your attention. The buckshot might sting a little bit. Okay, so the second part of the question, and it's to do with that sector of the community that comes out with cliches like "it ain't broke, don't fix it." Why do we need complexity? Why do we need to change? This is not what we signed on for. Sometimes last year, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. So I put it to both of you, with increased capability comes responsibility and accountability. Very simple statement. What do you believe are the challenges facing RAOs, and what do you think we need to do to bring the members on the change journey with us? Okay. Understand the question? Both good with that?
I think so.
Fire it off, Luke. And if you deviate a little bit too far, I'll draw you back on track. Okay.
Sure things. I'll probably acknowledge that people generally don't like change, even when it is for the better. We were faced with a pretty difficult decision with Part 149 to either remain locked in time or to be able to move forwards with 149. And that was a decision that wasn't taken lightly. With that does come some change. But it's our role within RALs and through the management of the team and the management of the board to make sure we're navigating through that quite effectively. The biggest challenge for our members in this journey, I suppose, is to keep up to date with the changes that are occurring. Now, that's a lot of responsibility on RALs' side to make sure that we're communicating what these changes actually mean, and then also understanding how they impact on the regulation. And when they do have a significant impact on our members, such as the lowering of the controlled airspace, the Class E airspace on the East Coast, that we are able to then have those mature and professional conversations with CASA, as Matt, I think, did a fantastic job doing, that identifies the limitations and the restrictions that do occur to us. That's our responsibility as an organisation, as I think Simon touched on previously, as an advocacy in that area, to understand the problems, understand the changes, apply those and understand the impact from the member side of things, and then champion them back through to our regulators. Okay,
excellent. So, Simon, would you like me to run through the question again, or are you right to roll?
No, I think I'm pretty right to roll, and I'm glad that Luke fielded that one first. Actually, look, it is a sensitive topic, obviously. Yeah, look, change management is always a challenge. Look, I've had to go through a lot of change management in varying roles. It's always a challenge. I think the key is communication, bottom line. It's about communicating with the members to understand what their concerns are with the change, and then vice versa, if it's appropriate, to advocate on behalf of the members because they've got valid points about the change, or alternatively, trying to re-educate them on the benefits of that change. It's going to be a challenge. It's always a challenge. I mean, you just can't avoid change. We'd be stagnant. We wouldn't be an organisation if we didn't change. So, it's going to present challenges. It's nothing new or unusual to those who are currently on the board. It's not new or unusual to candidates like myself, who have been on other boards, who run companies. It's regularly we are changing business models and direction and strategy and all those things, and you have to bring the membership or the employees, depending on the circumstances, along on that journey. You really need to sell it to them, and that's where leadership to some extent comes in. A subtle difference between management and leadership. One aspect is basically imposing and directing, and the other one is encouraging and leading people on a particular journey. And that's really what we need to be doing as a board, as we recognise and identify that we have to change as an organisation. So, look, it's I can't say specifically what those actual challenges will be, other than it's about communicating with the membership to ensure that we understand their side of it, and then providing the board's response to that.
Okay, good answers from both of you, both guys. Thanks very much. It certainly is comforting to see that you both have a good understanding of the challenges that we faced from what is constant in our life, and that is change. So thank you for those. Mirat has kindly put the question up from Danny for me. So going back to the topic in terms of diversity and opportunity for people from diverse backgrounds. Danny has said here, thank you both for nominating. Your backgrounds will be a great asset to RAOZ. So she started with a statement. And what she would like to know is your thoughts on any, she would like to know any plans or thoughts you have on working with minorities, which is an extension of that question. So let's kick it off. I started with Luke last time. Let's kick it off with Simon this time. We'll share the load.
Yeah, thanks, PJ, and thanks, Danny, for your question. Look, I hope we answered this for the most part with the previous question. Certainly, I'm an advocate of trying to reach as many people as possible with aviation. Providing an opportunity for anyone who shows even the slightest interest in flying or the maintenance side of the house, or even just as an enthusiast. I'm all for providing or opening up an opportunity for them to be able to access aviation. And if there's more as an organisation we can be doing, then yeah, absolutely willing to and happy to explore any suggestions and options that might be put forward, as Luke mentioned, I think in his last answer. Would love to hear, in fact, not just your thoughts and ideas on this particular issue, but from even the broader membership out there on things that we could be doing better. In my last response, I talked about communication, and really I think that's key in a whole raft of areas for RAOZ. So hopefully we have answered your question, Danny.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Okay, Luke, your turn.
Yeah, I suppose from my side of things, there's no real fixed plans for targeting this. Our main driver from RAOZ was to try and target growth and that means assessing, the marketplace and trying to understand where that growth can occur. And that does mean that we do look at, some of those minority areas to see, well, how come we haven't had the traction in those areas? It's a really important thing, not just to provide, the advertising, the banners and things like that, but to really understand the barriers to entry, for that. And, if we use something quite straightforward as the women in aviation, I think as Simon mentioned, I do remember asking it a long time ago from our ops manager and said, is there actually a barrier to entry, or can, any woman or girl go up to a school and, pay their fees and go flying? And the answer that I got back actually quite surprised me, was that yes, there is a barrier that they might not feel comfortable in an aircraft in that level of proximity with a male CFI. So immediately that means RALs needs to start looking at how do we get more female CFIs into the industry to be able to give that not only as a reduction of the barrier, but also as a pathway. Any little boy who's looking up at the sky thinks, oh, there's a plane up there, and he can see himself in that pilot seat because we have a lot of male pilots, especially in the recreational area. There's less so of women when it comes to that represented within our membership, and that we really need to give them that perspective for the little girls out there who look up into the sky and think, I'd really like to do that. And I know that I've seen those women pilots at the local airfield. So it's about demonstrating these avenues, and it's not just for women in aviation, it's for different ethnic backgrounds as well. The more that we can show that there is a genuine pathway for these people into our industry, the higher the growth. And like I said, whether that's through RALs or through GA or through commercial or whatever their pursuits are, if we can play a part in that and break down some of those barriers, that just means it's a fantastic outcome for all.
Okay, excellent. Thanks, guys. I appreciate those honest and frank responses. That brings us to the end of our formal questions. So what I would like to do now is give both of you 3 or 4 minutes to sum up, give it your final pitch, so to speak, and then I'll close the live stream. So Luke, being a sitting member of the board, I'll hand over to you first to close off.
No worries. All right. Well, thank you, and thank you, PJ, for your work tonight. And for Simon, look, it's a very tough gig. Being in RALs and on the board, there's a lot of after-hours work and participation and outside of board meetings and things like that. So while you may not know what you're signing up for, I do appreciate the fact that you've signed up. So thank you very much. And I do, I'll echo my comments previously that it is really important for us to get that fresh perspective onto the board. I really encourage people to have a very good look at Simon and ensure that, he's the person for that can bring that level of perspective. I've certainly seen no red flags from your comments tonight. As for myself, look, I am ready, willing, and able to stand up again. As I said, it is a reasonably tough gig to go through, but yeah, more than happy to do so again and provide another 3 years of corporate governance. So thank you for the opportunity, and I look forward to working with the team in the future, either in a capacity as a director or not. So, okay,
thanks a lot, Luke. Okay, Simon, handing over for the final opportunity.
Look, yeah, final words. I guess I'll keep them brief. I think, or hopefully from tonight, the membership that is watching or that reviews this later on now has a better appreciation of firstly, what the board's role is. Secondly, the type of candidate that really should be on the board. And you've seen 2 of the candidates tonight that are electing. You can hopefully see the caliber of in both myself and Luke, and that we are, well, certainly for myself, I'm genuinely interested and willing to support this organisation. I note your comments here, Luke. As I said, I've been on boards previously, so I'm well aware of what I'm potentially getting in for, or setting myself in for. And I've knowing full well what's in store, I have chosen to nominate. I do think that I'm suitable. That's not to say that you're not, Luke. In fact, I think from again, I don't know you. Other than what we've discussed tonight, I think you've clearly shown and demonstrated not only yourself to be a very good member of the board, but the type of calibre that we do have representing this organisation. And if you're not re-elected, then all the very best, and thank you for serving. I can't say any more than I'm here to. I'll put forward my nomination. I'm here to advocate for you, the membership. That's really what my reasoning is for joining the board, and that's what I intend to do if I am elected. Hopefully you see me as a suitable candidate. Outside of that, thank you, PJ, for moderating this evening. Thanks, Luke, for the discussion. It's been really good. And to all the team behind the scenes and in the background that have put this on, made this happen. It's been a pleasure. It's really worked out quite well, I think, and hopefully the membership as a whole has got something from the ability to see us in action, talking about what it is we're hoping to achieve and what the board does. So thanks very much to the team behind the scenes. I'll hand back to you now. Thanks, PJ.
Okay, Luke and Simon, thanks very much for your participation tonight and the honesty with which you've addressed the questions and the frankness that you've shared with the members. I'd like to reiterate Danny's opening comments when she posed a question and thank both of you for nominating, okay? I understand the workload that's required and the impost both professionally and personally on board members, and it's sometimes it can be a pretty thankless task. So to step up and be counted is very much appreciated, certainly from me as a member, and I'm sure other members will join me in thanking you for at least putting your hand up for the challenge. Having said that, I would now like to go back to the members, and I'd like to reiterate the comments that the chairman made in his opening address in relation to electronic voting. A personal comment now, for many years as a member of RAOZ, it has bemused me that we continue to elect board members with what is a minority representation of the members through a cumbersome, expensive and manual postal vote system. The team in RAOZ and the board have worked hard to provide every member the opportunity for the simplest and most engaging way to voice your vote in an election. So I would encourage you to take that opportunity with both hands, use it wisely, and show that you are in fact interested in and engaged in the future of recreational aviation as we know it, and the tremendous benefits that it brings to us as participants. And you can only do that by showing strength through numbers. So I encourage everybody to use that vote to the fullest extent possible. I'd like to close off by thanking the ladies behind the scene, Lisa and Mariette, for the work that they've done. I think it's gone off seamlessly as it has in the past. So thank you, ladies, and thank you, Matt, to working also behind the scenes and providing the opportunity. So I think with that, we've pretty well exhausted everything, although I did have a couple of curly questions sitting here in reserve that you guys have dodged. So on that, I think we'll sign off now and let Mariette close the meeting down, but I think it would be prudent for us to sit here and wait for the rest of the team to come back and join us. Thanks very much, members. Have a good night.
Thanks all.
Thank you.